when you are trying to working, we use arrays or collection framework to represent the data, to hold the data and display the data. That's it, right? Now, so this is one Java application. From the Java application, now I want to save my data permanently. Whenever I require, I want to access. For this, I can try to go for database. This is my database software. This is my database software. So what is the database software now? What are the database software are available in the market? Oracle, MySQL, SQL Server, next Postgres. Then like this, we're having n number of database softwares available in the market. N number of servers available in the market. Very good. Now, but Shiva, I want to store the data in the database. Then what I can do it? So to store the data in the database. So understandable language I'll use, ma'am. To store and to store a data, to store a data into the database. To store the data into the database, we can call as a persistent logic. Persistence logic. Got it? To store the data into the database, we can call as a persistent. Persistent, but storing. Okay. For this, what is the logic? To write this logic, we required JDBC API. Oh, okay. Now I can say is that JDBC API. What is JDBC API? Using JDBC API, using Java Database Connectivity API, can interact with database software, to interact with database software to perform manipulations, like insert, update, delete, and retrieve. So to understand, using JDBC API, we can store the data into the database. We can insert the data in the database. We can retrieve the data from the database. So what are the APIs are? JDBC is the API. JDBC is one technology we can try to use to interact with the database software to perform this operation. We can store the data in the database. We can get the data from the database. We can retrieve the data from the database. These are the operations we can try to perform it. Are you clear? Right. Up to here is fine. When you are interacting, what exactly we require, Shiva? So to interact with the database software, we required the class name and URL. What we require, sir? The class name and URL. To interact with the database software, we required the class name and URL. So this class name can try to call as a driver class. The class name can try to call as the driver class. Okay. Now, or I can say that driver URL. Or I can say JDBC URL and JDBC class. Okay. To interact with the database software, minimum we require the database class name and URL. Shiva, I have a small question. Who will give this class and URL? Guys, who will give this class and URL? The class and URL given by different vendors, different organization will be provided to interact with the database software. Okay. Now, first vendor. Who is the first vendor? Sun Microsystem. I can say that Sun always is the first vendor, right? Sun Microsystem. So Sun is nothing but Oracle software provider now. Is it clear? Is the first vendor. Who is the second vendor? Database vendor. Good. Database vendor. So the database organizations will be provide a class and URL to interact with the database software. Good. Next, what about next one?
Third party.
Yeah, third party API. Third party API. So third party API. So it means that use a third party. It means that other than Sun Microsystem, other than database software, yes, we can try to use third party organization will be provide this API. So Sun Microsoft providing a class and URL. Database vendor will be provide the class and URL, and even third-party API, third-party organization will be provide. Third-party organization will be provide third-party vendor. Third-party vendor, I mean that other than Sun Microsystem, database vendor, third-party organization will be provide. Third-party organization will be provide. Now, sir, what about next step? Yes. So I hope you understand till now. Perfect. So now, sir, what these vendors will be provide? The vendors are providing JDBC drivers, JDBC driver to connect with a database software, to connect with database software. Perfect, sir. I got it, sir. Next step. What are the different types of driver? JDBC, ODBC, bridge driver. Then we can try to call type 1 driver. We can call type 1 driver. So next we can try to call type 2 driver, type 2 driver, type 3 driver, type 3 driver, right? Type 4 driver, fourth one. Good. So the type 1 driver, technically we can try to call JDBC, ODBC bridge driver. Okay. What about type 2 driver? The type 2 driver you can try to call native API driver. What is that? Native API driver. Now, native API driver. Network protocol driver. Thin driver. Thin driver. Yes. Is it clear? So how many drivers we are having? Four type of drivers. So type 1 driver will be provided by Sun Microsystem. Nothing but this. So type 1 driver is deprecated, sir. We are not required to talk about this one. Type 1 driver is deprecated, sir. So Java 1.8 version onwards, type 1 driver deprecated. Even if you're not used also, it will work, sir. The driver, type 1 driver is not working properly. Now, next one, native API driver. Sir, who will provide this driver? Sir, native API driver uses the client-side libraries of the database. The driver convert JDBC method calls to the native calls. Let me tell you, this driver design other than Java language, like C, C++, JSRD. We are using that driver in our Java. So we can try to call native API driver. If you want to use this driver in your application development, then it's mandatory. It's a mandatory to install. It's a mandatory to install database software in your system. It's a mandatory to install database software in your system. It's a mandatory yes, to install in your system. Good. What about next one? So let me show you then. See, this is the way it will be there. See, native API driver. See, native API driver, vendor database library, database. So vendor database library, it means that it's a mandatory to install in your system. It's a mandatory to install in your system. Then only this driver it will work. Just now I have explained you, sir. Native API driver use native API means this driver is designed in other different language other than Java. Database library. Next one. Advantage is comparatively faster than JDBC. This is was situation we never use a database vendor. For example, if you are working with MySQL vendor will be provided, sir. Right, if you are working with the SQL Server vendor will be provided. Right. So I think is it clear now? What is the native API driver? This driver is provided by database vendor. But problem is each and every developer system should be installed. Sir, These are the developer systems. See, this is my development system. 1, developer 2, developer 3. Great. So generally, database server is available somewhere else. This is one database server. Database server. Sorry, database. Yeah, software. So, right. So each and every developer will connect to the database software and like this. But if you want to use a type 2 driver, it's a mandatory to install in developer system this database client software. That's a mandatory. That is a major issue. Basically, why we should we have to install that? Because it's a native API driver. This driver is designed C language. We are using that driver in our application development API driver. So then really this driver, the native driver needs to be installed on the each client machine. That is a major issue. The native driver needs to be installed on each and every developer system needs to be installed on client machine. That is a major issue. Vendor library. It means that the database client software should be installed on each and every developer system. That is a major issue. Type 3 driver I'll talk about later, sir. Then next type of driver, thin driver. What is a thin driver? Thin driver, it means that this driver is designed using a Java. This driver is designed using a Java. Okay. So this driver Java. So we are not required to install. We are not required to install each and every developer system your database software. Happily, we can connect directly to database software. We can try to work each and every one. Are you understand? This driver, generally we can try to call type 4 driver. Technically, once you're trying to talking about it, thin driver. We are not required to install each and every client. We are not required to install database client software in our system. That is a plus point for working with thin driver. So this driver will be provided whom? Database software, database vendors. So this driver is vendor specific database, right? Vendor specific database. For example, if you are working with Oracle, Oracle organization will be provide the class name. If you are working with the MySQL organization will be provide class and URL. If you are working with SQL Server will be provide the class name and URL. Look at now, sir. For example, if I'm trying to working with Oracle organization will be provide now Oracle dot JDBC dot driver dot Oracle driver. This is given. This class is given by Oracle organization. So what is the URL for this? What is the URL? So once you try to speak about the URL, JDBC thin colon @ localhost. Host indicating IP address or your system or where exactly the database software is available. But this is a database software IP address you can specify, meaning is 1521 is the port number of database software. Here schema. So class name and URL is very important when you are trying to working with this application development. Are you clear, sir, please? Right. Oracle.jvc.driver.Oracle driver is a class name. Is given by whom? Oracle organization. What is the protocol? JDBC colon Oracle colon thin colon local. This is the way. So this class and URL is given by whom? This class and URL is given. This class and URL is given by whom? Oracle organization. Right or not, guys? Oracle is a software company. I told you very clearly package name com.mysql JDBC the driver. That's it. Driver is a class name. So what about URL? JDBC colon MySQL colon localhost port number and schema name.